Hello everyone, I'm Alicia. Welcome to my Beautiful Nights channel. In a previous tutorial I showed you guys how to make this necklace here, and I told you guys in that video how I just used a subscription box to make this necklace, and I would like to experiment more with this stitch, which is actually right angle weave, but I did my own variation of it, and I came up with my own design decorating the right angle weave. So anyways, I told you guys how I would like to experiment more with this because I knew more can be done, but I wanted to make sure that you guys were interested in it before I did any experimenting, and a lot of you said yes in the comments to do more experimenting. So I did, and I'm back to show you what I came up with. And really, I have just found that you can use all different shapes, sizes, and kinds of beads to make this style necklace, and I just came up with two, and hopefully I will inspire you to create something for yourself. So in this necklace here, going back to my original tutorial, I used 6mm and 4 and 3mm beads here for the right angle weave base, and I just decorated the bottom here with beads that match the top. The beads that I used up here, I decorated the loops, and I used these lentils here, and I wanted to do the stitch again, but do it with smaller beads as the base, and like I said, these were 6mm, so I tried doing 4mm here for the base, and I knew that I had to go even smaller than the 4mm, like I did here, 3 and 4, so I went to 2mm, so 4mm for the right angle weave base here, and the bronze beads are the 2mm rondelles. I will zoom in some so you can see. But yeah, all of these are 2mm rondelles, the bronze beads. So I did it and it worked. Just decorated the rest with 2mm rondelles. I actually did some green ones in here. I'll zoom in again. See these little green rondelles? They're 2mm, same size as the bronze. And then I did my 4mm bicones and 4mm czech flower pouch beads to match here, and I did my favorite color, turquoise seed bead. And I went through my bead stash and I found these czech leaf beads. Now this here, the beaded section, was I think 6 inches long, and I wanted to do this one here a lot longer, especially since I was able to get my raw weave to work and have it actually bend like this for me. So this piece here is 11 inches long. Now I was first going to do like a 20-inch necklace because this looks really good short up high in the neck and it looks like a collar, and then I added 4 inches to it to see what it would look like, and it looks good at any length. Now this necklace here pretty much is made the same exact way that this one is made. I just used smaller beads, longer thread, and I used a leaf bead instead of a lentil. So if you want to make this, I recommend that you actually go back to my original tutorial. I will have a link for this necklace down there in the description bar, because the necklace I'm about to show you guys in this tutorial is made pretty much like this, but I added a piece of fringe, I guess I would call it, in between the loops. So I have a picture here on my phone. I'm going to show you guys real quick. So this is the necklace I'm going to be making. I took it apart, of course, so I can remake it in the video. But see here, after I have a loop done, I came here and I added a fringe because I was trying to make this look more different, because I realized this is sort of like this one. I just used smaller beads, and of course I made it longer. But I wanted to experiment more, and this is what I came up with. Now these here are using a top drilled lentil, top drilled leaf, but I also had an idea, what would it be like if I used a flat bead that had a center hole instead of a top drilled bead. So this leaf bead actually has a center hole going all the way through here, and down here I decided to use a superduo bead to keep this in place, because I couldn't really come out here and put a seed bead at the bottom and go back up. I just didn't like how it looked. It didn't look right to me. So I ended up adding a superduo here at the bottom. So that's what's different compared to this piece and this piece here. This one, again, I will be doing in the video. And I figured out how to add fringe here. So yeah, I've really found that you can use whatever beads you really want. It's just important to get your right angle weave base stitch right so that it will lay properly. So like I did in this one, I have the 6mm beads here in the center, but on the sides I found it important to use smaller beads. Now let's go over the materials. Now as you guys can see, I am using a lot of beads in the necklace that I'm making in the video, but really, like I said, you can play around with all different sizes, shapes, and kinds of beads. But I did find in this one here, when I went to go do the loops, this necklace here, because I did large beads here at the tops of the loops, this necklace only wants to lay curved. Whenever I try to make this straight, my loops pop up, and these beads here, they're too big or they're bumping into each other, so their loops are popping up. So if you're making a piece that you want to be more flexible, I do recommend that you use 2 or 3 millimeter beads for the sides and 4 for the center of the roll. But yeah, for the loops, you can pretty much do whatever you want in the loops. And you will want to do smaller beads at the top so it's more flexible. So this one here I did larger bead at the top, but this one I just did seed beads at the top and the 2 millimeter rondelles. So that's why this one here can lay straight, and it can also be curved like this. Now all the beads here pretty much are just fancy looking embellishments that I did, but if you want, you can do your loops just in all seed beads. It's totally up to you. And play around with your bead here for the center. Again, you can use a side hole drilled bead, you could do a center drilled bead. See what you have in your stash, see what you have to work with. By the way, in case you're interested in remaking this necklace, if you have the same leaf beads, I named this necklace Fiesta necklace, and you will see the material list for this one down there in the description bar. The name I'm calling the necklace that we're working on in the tutorial is Mermaid necklace because of my color schemes. I'm working with pearls and shell beads. So yeah, that's how you will know the difference between the two material lists down there in the description bar. Now, to make this necklace, I'm thinking I'm going to need about 10 feet of fireline because I used 12 feet for this necklace and this one's going to be shorter. I'm also using a size 10 beading needle, and for the beads I'm using 27 4mm bicone beads. And I do want to point out that this is just how many I'm needing for my project that I'm working on, but you can make this any length you want. As you can see, this one's very short, this one's super long, so the amount of beads you will need will vary depending how long you want this to be, really. So yeah, 27 4mm bicone beads is what I'm using, 36 4mm round beads, and I'm doing 2 different colors, so I have 18 of each color. And then I have 72 3mm rondelle beads, or you can do 2mm rondelle beads, or you could do 8 seed beads. So you do have alternatives for this bead here in case you don't have that. And you're also going to need 26 2mm rondelle beads, and this here is more decorative. You don't have to have these. Like I said, this is for the loops. But in place of the 2mm rondelle, you can use an 8 seed bead. And I'm using 26 4x3mm rondelle beads. An alternative for this bead is a 6 seed bead. And I'm using 18 4x6mm rondelle beads, and an alternative for this is a 4mm round bead. And I'm using 8 6mm round beads. And then this here is my leaf bead. This is I have 9 of these, by the way. This is a 10x7mm shell leaf bead. And then I'm using 9 superduos, and if you want, you can use twin beads. And I'm using 11 seed beads. This is a Czech brand. You can also use Miyuki, but I don't recommend Toho because they are actually bigger. They're thicker than the brand that I'm using for this project. And of course, you're also going to need rolo chain, split rings, and a lobster claw clasp. Now, the materials that I'm using for this project in the video are actually from Beebeecraft. Most of them are. These, all of those beads are from Beebeecraft, and I will have links for these beads down there in the description bar. These shell beads are awesome. They come in, I think it's 5 different colors. You get a lot of them. Most of the beads that I get from Beebeecraft, I get them in bulk. So yeah, I will have links for all the beads down there. If you don't see links, it's because they don't have them in stock at this time. But I do know that at the time I'm filming this, that these are in stock. And I talked to you guys about this before, but if you are a YouTuber and if you have 100 subscribers or more, Beebeecraft has a YouTube program where you can sign up with them, and they will give you free materials so you can use those in your videos. And basically, you're just helping each other out by helping advertise their business. You get free stuff. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, I'm back and I'm going to start by working up my right angle weave base, and I'm first going to pick up a round bead, this is 4mm by the way, and then my 3mm, and then a 4mm bicone, and then a 3mm rondelle. Just like this, I'm going to slide all of these down. Okay, and I'm thinking I'm probably going to leave about a 6-inch tail. So sliding all these beads down. I'm going to take a ruler. Sometimes I like to measure it this way. And I'm going to find 6 inches on my thread, which is here, I think. And I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to pass back through all 4 of these beads. Okay. Now I'm not tying a knot right now because if we were to have a boo-boo, all I have to do is undo all of my work and I can reuse this thread. But if I tie a knot, then my thread's going to be shorter because I'll have to cut it. So this is just a little trick that I do sometimes when I'm designing. I will try to avoid tying a knot at the beginning in case I make mistakes. So I'm going to pass back through this pearl, just the pearl like this. So I'm actually going through all of these beads twice. So it's just the friction of all these beads being in a circle and then going through twice that's keeping our thread from slipping through. So I'm going to measure, and it's just over by 1/4 of an inch, but that's fine. That's fine. We'll be okay. Alright, so coming out of the pearl, I'm now going to pick up another 3mm, and then I'm going to do a bicone. So I alternate these 2 beads. I do believe that going back and forth between bicones and the rounds helps this be more flexible. And I also believe that doing the center, the big size, and then the sides, the smaller side, also helps this to be more flexible. So this here is the beads that I picked up, and I'm going to go through the pearl. Okay. By the way, I've talked about this in my last video, but I actually do prefer doing the right angle weave with 2 needles because whenever I do it with one, I find that the stitch pulls weird. Alright, so now I'm going to go, where'd it go? Through this bead. Because this one here has 2 threads and I don't want to pass through that again. I want to go through the beads I just picked up. You could see the thread if there's 1 or 2. So I'm going through that bicone, not bicone, I'm going through that rondelle, pulling it tight, okay, like this. And now I'm going to go through the bicone. And I always find it helpful to hold the project in the direction I have to pull my thread. Okay, looks good, nice and tight. This one's not pulling because of how I just went through those beads. But to make this faster, I do like to go through both of them. So I'm going to pick up my 3mm and I'm going back to the pearl and then a 3, just like this. I'm going to alternate the pearl and the bicone. Okay, pull all my thread through, and to save time, what I like to do is go through the side bead like this, and then I go through the round. Now doing this can make it pull, so you want to pull this tail here, okay, to make that tight, and then hold this between your fingers and pull your thread all the way through. Okay, let's see. Oh, it looks good. I think this is working better than last time because these beads here have like sharper holes that I'm working with, and the other beads that I used were czech and had smooth holes. I don't know, it could be multiple reasons, but it looks good. There's no exposed thread. It's tight as it can be. So moving on after the pearl, again I have to do the bicone, so I'm going to do my 3mm, the bicone, and the pearl. No, not the pearl. After the bicone, I'm going to do the 3mm again, and I have to go in this direction. I was thinking about working this necklace up to be like a collar. Now mine just did the pulling thing. Do you see that? It's longer on this side, so to fix that, I grab this bead and I pull it and I rock it side to side and it makes it tighter. So I'm happy it did that so you guys can see what to do. Okay, now I'm going to go through the rondelle here. And then I'm going to turn and go through the bicone like that and hold this between my fingers and pull all the thread through. So yeah, this could be, I'm thinking, a collar. You know, when I say a collar, I don't know if you know what I'm saying, but a collar is a necklace that's beaded all the way around your neck, just like this stitch I did. But basically, this would go all the way around your neck. Now, I don't have enough beads to actually do that with this here, but this one, I don't think I have enough of these either. I don't have enough of the superduos. But that is another idea. But I do feel this is kind of big, though. I think if I did the 6mm lentils, that it would work great. And that was something that I was gonna do instead of these leaves, but then I discovered these in my stash, so I went with these. But you can also do 6mm lentils. So now I'm gonna go back to the 3mm rondelle, and then I did a bicone here, so that means I have to go to the pearl, and then the 3mm rondelle like this, and I'm gonna go through the bicone. Now sometimes when I do a stitch like this, and if I look back and I see that it's loose, like back here, I can actually fix it sometimes. So let's see. Mine doesn't look bad, but if it were loose, what I would do is I would grab it down here. I actually get a bead awl and I would put it through there, pull the thread tight, and then I would go to the next area, put the awl in there, pull the thread tight, and then go to the next one and pull that tight. And I just work it out and it makes it tighter for me. Alright, now I'm just going to go through the rondelle, turn, go through the pearl, and mine just got loose, so I'm going to pull this thread and then go back to my needle and pull all this thread through. Alright, there we go. So I'm going to keep on doing this. Very simple. It's just one needle, right angle weave. We're just doing it different because we are using different sizes of beads. Usually, traditionally, you use all the same size, but we're doing 2 different sizes, and we're also doing 3 different shapes of beads. So now after the pearl, I'm going to go back to the rondelle, and then the bicone, and then the rondelle. Okay, and then I'm going to go through the pearl on this side. And pull all of it through. You can also, if you want to do this as a collar necklace, what you could do, I told you guys how this necklace is 11, the beaded area is 11 inches long. What you could do is cut 12 feet of thread, bead one side. Normally collar necklaces are made like this. You would bead one side up, okay, and then you would do another side and you would connect them here in the middle. You would connect the 2 pieces together. So you're actually making half the necklace at a time. Alright, so I'm going to take my needle now and go through this rondelle. And then I'm going to go through this bicone. And again, it got loose on me. See that there, how the beads are getting loose? So all I have to do is pull this thread and then go back to the needle and pull all of this through. And again, point your hand in the direction that you're pulling your thread. That also helps with the pulling that happens. Okay, and there we go. So I'm going to keep going, working up this stitch, and when I use all of my beads up here, I will be back and show you what to do next. We will be doing the beaded loops. I'm back and I continued working up the right angle weave stitch, alternating the pearl and the bicone beads, and now I'm down here and I left off with a bicone, and I have to add my seed bead loop for my chain to be attached, so I'm going to pick up 7 11 seed beads of 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I'm going to pick up a split ring, or you can do a jump ring, up to you. But I'm going to do a split ring, and then I'm going to take the needle and pass through the bicone like this. Okay, hold this between my fingers, pull my thread through like that. I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to go through this rondelle, through the pearl, pull all my thread through. Okay, and I have to reinforce my seed bead loop, and I do it like 3 times so it's strong. So I'm going to go through the rondelle, and then I'm going to pick up 1 seed bead. I don't know, maybe I should do it 2 times because that pearl is tough to get through. It has a small hole, so I'll see. We'll see what it's like after the second time. Actually, I know how I can do it. Alright, so I'm going through those seed beads there, filling in that gap. I'm going around. I could just go in a circle around the bicone and the seed beads to reinforce it the 3rd time instead of going through the pearl again. Because that pearl that I'm using has a small hole. Okay, so I'm going through all the seed beads. Here I am. I'm picking up 1 more seed bead. I have to fill in this gap right here, so I'm going to go through the rondelle, pull the thread through. That gap there fills in, as you can see. I'm going to go through this pearl. Actually, I just went through there twice. No, I can't. I have to go through this pearl. Maybe I'll be okay. I think I'll be okay. Alright, I'm going to go through this rondelle again and through all of the seed beads. This will be my 3rd pass. It's very good to pass through an area like this at least 3 times because this is kind of considered our closure area. Normally, if this was a bracelet, we would have our clasp here. We're going to have a chain here. But usually this area gets the most wear and tear. Our chain's going to be yanking on this spot. Okay, so I'm going to go through all of these, and I need to exit out a pearl. So I'm just passing through all of these seed beads. I'm also going to go through right there. Pull all the tail through, pull it tight, and go down through the pearl. Pull it tight. We have that done, and now we are ready to do our loop. For your loop here, you can do whatever bead pattern you like, really. The most important thing is that the center bead fits in there freely with a good amount of space around it. So what I'm going to do is pick up a seed bead, and then a 2mm rondelle, a seed bead, a 3x4 rondelle, and like I said earlier, you can use a 6/0 seed bead in place of this if you don't have this size, or you can go on to Beebeecraft to get a ton of those. And then I'm going to do a seed bead, a 4mm, okay, and then a seed bead, and then I'm going to do my rondelle bead here, a seed bead, just 1, and a superduo. This marks the center. Now usually in the other bracelet I did not pick up superduos. Superduos are only in this style that I'm doing, okay? And then a seed bead, and then I go in reverse and I pick up the beads that I just picked up, but in the other direction. So I'm doing the large rondelle, seed bead, and then the 4mm seed bead, my 3x4 rondelle, seed bead, my 2mm rondelle, and a seed bead. Okay, just like this. And this here makes the perfect distance from here to here with room inside for me to accommodate my shell leaf. Okay, so this is what I have. Coming out of this pearl, picking up all of those beads, I'm going to skip over this bead and go through this one. Okay, so I have this loop, and then I'm going to take my needle and go through this rondelle, and then I'm going to sew down to this bicone, just like that. And then I'm going to pick up one seed bead, a leaf bead, pick it up from the pointed side, and then a seed bead, just like this. Slide these down, and I'm going to go through the superduo, and I'm going to go through the right side over here. Make sure that you do the same side every time, just so it doesn't warp on you. No twisting allowed here. Okay. So I'm pulling that tight. That's what I have so far. I'm going to pick up one seed bead. Just one. Hold this in place. Pass the needle through the leaf bead. We're skipping over that seed bead there, okay? So we're just going through the leaf bead, the seed bead, and then the 4mm. Just like this. Now before I go all the way through, I like to hold it like this between my fingers. Pull my thread, my working thread there tight, and hold this in place. Turn my hand and pull all of my tail through. Now you might have to adjust this some. Like I did find when I was designing this that sometimes I had to pull this tight and take my bead awl or needle and wiggle this area right here just to straighten it out. I had to do that a couple times. Alright, now I'm going to go through this rondelle, and I have to exit out of the next 4mm bead. So I'm going through that rondelle. Okay, but I have to follow my old thread paths. I can't make any new ones. I can't shoot across like this to the other rondelle because that would cause us to have problems. So I'm gonna go down through this pearl, okay, pull that tight, and then I'm gonna go down through this rondelle, and then I'm gonna go through this bicone here. Now you're probably thinking, how on earth are we going to pick up beads and do a fringe here when we're going in the wrong direction? Well, I figured that out. Okay, so that looks good. So I'm going to pick up one seed bead. Okay, and then I'm going to go back down through my bicone here, and this one seed bead is going to be anchoring our thread in place so that we can add a fringe here. Okay, now we only go through that one seed bead that I just added one time. Okay, now I'm going to pick up my beads for my fringe, and you can make your fringe area as long as you want. Alright, you can make it shorter than your loop, longer than your loop, it's up to you. So I'm going to do one seed bead, a 2mm rondelle, a seed bead, a 4mm bicone, and you can do whatever bead sequences you want to. Seed bead, and then I'm going to go to the larger rondelle, which is the 3x4, and remember I said the alternative for that is a 6/0 seed bead, and then a seed bead, and then a pearl. Alright, that's what I'm picking up. And then I'm going to do 3 beads, because I like to have 3 in my fringe. Whenever I do fringe, I always do 3 for some reason. I just like how it looks. I think it looks weird with 1 for some reason. Okay. And then take the needle, go back through all of these beads, skipping over those 3 seed beads. Through all of these. Come out that bicone, but do not pass through that seed bead that you added there at the top. Okay, and you want to hold all of these beads right here in place. Make sure you hold the pearl too as you pull this through, because if you don't, your thread, this is going to slide down. You're going to have problems with getting it adjusted, and if you just hold it all in place, it comes together really nicely and much quicker. Okay, now I am wondering if I have it too tight right here, because do you see how this is laying at an angle? That didn't happen before, so I could have it a little too tight right there. My tension. Right. It's going to be okay. Now I'm going to go through this rondelle, coming in that blue bicone, and we're going to come out that pearl, and then we're going to add another loop. Okay, so I'm going to pick up a seed bead, a 2mm seed bead, my rondelle, 3x4 rondelle, seed bead, 4mm, seed bead, my big rondelle here, my 4x6 rondelle, slide that down, a seed bead, superduo seed bead, big rondelle again, and I'm going reverse, picking up the biggest to smallest now. And a seed bead. Alright, sliding all these down. This is now going to be over here on this side. So again, picking this up, I'm skipping over this bicone and I'm going through the pearl. Okay. So here's my second loop. And then I have to go back in this direction to add my leaf. So through the rondelle on the top. And then down through the bicone. Okay, and then I'm going to pick up one seed bead, my leaf, seed bead, slide them down, and I'm going to go through, again, the superduo in this direction. I always go through it in the same direction. Since I'm working that way, I'm going to go through it that way. Pass this through. Okay. I'm going to go like that, make sure it's snug, there's no loose thread right here, so that when I go through this, I don't have problems. There's a seed bead, one seed bead, and I'm going to go through the leaf bead, and through this seed bead, and through the bicone. Okay, hold all of this in place, pull your needle through, and you should have that. And I don't have to do a lot of yanking because it actually looks really straight and it's not twisted. So now I'm going to take my needle and go through this rondelle. Because I held it like that when I passed through, it went really nice. The beads are straight. Okay, now I'm going to go down through this pearl, And we have to get through that next 4mm, which is going to make us X out on the top. Okay, following the same thread path, going through this one. I have to exit out going straight up, like this. Okay, pick up one seed bead, and then I have to sew back down, going through the bicone, like that. Okay, pick up my beads again, seed bead, a 2mm seed bead, my 4mm bicone, seed bead, my big rondelle, 3x4 rondelle, seed bead, and a pearl. Just like that, slide those down. Then my 3 seed beads here for the bottom. Slide those down, slide all the beads down. Skipping over these 3 beads, I'm going to go through the pearl and all the other beads above that. Okay, and through the bicone, but not through that seed bead that we added at the top. We're skipping over that. Just like this. And hold all of these in place. Do not let them slide down. Okay, and pull your needle through. And I'm just going to adjust my seed beads here at the bottom. Sometimes I have to put my needle in to fix the fringe, because I'm OCD about it looking like that. I want it to look like that. Okay, and then I'm going to take the needle and go through this rondelle, and I have to get through that pearl, and then we can add another loop. And this is going to be the last loop I'm going to add with you guys, and then I'll let you go on and do it by yourself. And if you have any problems, you're just going to be rewinding the video. Okay, this is what I have so far. Again, I'm going to pick up my beads, same beads for my loop. Coming out this pearl, skipping over this bicone, I'm going to go up through this pearl. And then I'm going to go through this rondelle. You know, another alternative we have, if you are like me and you don't like doing one needle right angle weave, you can do the right angle weave with 2 needles and then tie it off and then get a new thread, just 1 thread, and do the embellishing on the bottom. That is another design alternative you can go with. And it will look exactly the same as mine. You're just going to be doing it a different way. Okay, so I went through that rondelle, came out the bicone, just like we did earlier, and I have to pick up 1 seed bead, my leaf bead from the pointed side, and then a seed bead, like that. Slide it down. Okay, I'm going to go through the superduo through the right side like this, and hold the beads like this in your hand. This helps prevent it from getting all twisted and crooked on us. So now I have this. I'm going to take and pick up one seed bead and pass my needle through the shell bead, the seed bead, and through the bicone. Okay, and I'm going to hold this in place so that it stays straight for us. Okay, give a little pull, just like that. Looks straight, looks great. I'm going to go through this rondelle now. I have to reposition myself for my last fringe that I'm going to do with you guys. And then I'm going to go down this purl, following my old thread path. Okay, and then through this rondelle, up through this bicone, that's what I have so far. I'm going to pick up one seed bead. Remember, this is going to be our little anchor to keep our thread from slipping down, so we can go in this direction at our fringe, like this. And then pick up my beads. I'm going to do a seed bead, 2mm rondelle, or 8/0, remember, the alternatives for this bead is an 8/0 seed bead, and then a seed bead, and then a 4mm bicone, a seed bead, 3x4 rondelle, seed bead, and a 6mm pearl, or whatever 6mm bead you want to use, and then go through these three here. You can also use a teardrop for this area. I'm doing a pearl, but you could do a teardrop. It could be a top hole teardrop, it can be a teardrop with a center through it. You have so many options. This is a really great design. Okay, coming through here, skipping over those 3 seed beads, going through all of these fringe beads, going through the bicone, don't go through that seed bead there at the top. Hold this between your fingers and pull your tail through. Look at that, how did that happen? I'm going to grab that center bead there and get this straightened out. Okay, and now I have to reposition myself to do another loop, so I'm just going to sew through the rondelle, and I have to get through the pearl, and then I can add another loop. So I'm going to keep going and doing this stitch, and when I get to the other end I'll show you guys how to finish this off. But here's what it looks like so far. It's very pretty. I like these colors. Do you see why I'm calling it mermaid bracelet? It has a mermaid vibe with the pearls and the shell beads. And these green beads here, they kind of look like sea glass to me. It's just really pretty. I like the colors. I continue doing my stitch, and now I'm over here. I added my last shell bead, went up through this bicone here, and now I have to get out of this bicone over here. So in order to do that, I have to go through this rondelle and then go through the pearl, and then I'm gonna go through the rondelle on the bottom and through this bicone. Okay, and then I'm going to pick up 7 seed beads, and I'm also going to pick up my split ring. Okay, that's 7 split ring. Slide it down. I'm going to go, let me get this tail out of my way. I'm on this side, I'm going to go through the same bead but in the opposite hole, making a loop there, and then I have to sew down through the rondelle, and then through this pearl, pull that tight, go through this rondelle, Okay, pick up a seed bead, go through these right here. This is going to be my second pass through these seed beads, and I want to do it 3 times. So after I go through here, I'm going to do it again. Alright, I just went through all of those. I have one more seed bead right here to pick up, fill in this gap. Okay, like I said, that's 2 passes, so I'm going to go through the pearl again. Okay, and then I'm going to sew through the rondelle and all of these seed beads again, and then we're going to tie knots. And you can use whatever chain you want to put on this necklace. I love rolo chain, it's my favorite because anything can be done with it. It's so amazing. It's the chain I use more than anything else. Okay, and I'm gonna go down this pearl and I think I'm also gonna go down through these 3 beads here, and I'm gonna come out in front of that rondelle. Okay, right there, and I'm gonna tie my knot here. So I'm gonna go underneath that thread, make a loop, and pass through it twice. Okay, right here, pull the knot down. I'm gonna go through this bead and through the seed bead, and then I'm going to tie another knot in front of the 4mm and go through that bead, go through this bead, tie a knot here, and I'm just gonna go here tying knots in front of the bigger beads. I just don't tie knots for the seed beads. You can tie knots for the seed beads because we're using a fine fireline and it should work, but I do like to tie in front of the bigger ones when I can. So go through here, tying your knots, and then I come up through here, go through this bead, go down through here. Actually, I don't tie knots in the fringe because I feel like it's kind of, I don't know, I guess I could tie knots. Yeah, I could tie knots if I wanted to. Go down there, you can tie knots. Basically, you're just going to be following your old thread paths, tying knots. This one here, when you get done with that one and use up as much thread as you can, put a needle onto this thread, go through this rondelle, through this bicone, through this rondelle, through this bicone, and you want to tie knots as you go. They might actually be seen though, but thing is this here is a short tail. I think what you can also do, let me see, I'm going to be coming up through here, so I could tie these 2 threads together. Sometimes what I do is I put the same threads on the needle together and I take both of them going in the same directions, tying knots. But in order to do that, you need to make sure that they are going the same direction and that they come out at a corner side by side so they can actually work together to do that. And I think I actually did that in my last video, the bracelet that I did. But yeah, basically you're just going to be following your old thread paths, tying your knots so your knots aren't seen, and you'll be all done. And that's it. I will have to attach my chain, but that's all. And I really like how this turned out. And as you can see, that's what it looks like laying flat or straight. And then this is what it looks like curved. It's very pretty. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please like this video, leave me a comment, subscribe if you want to see more of my videos, and make sure that you click the bell button so that you get notified whenever I upload new videos, and check me out on my social media sites. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and Twitter. Thanks for watching.